Hello, welcome to our TED Talk class. Today we will speak about libraries and reading and kids and something else. I don't know what exactly, because we have a very short TED Talk. And what is TED Talk about? Jürgen, please.
Yeah, it's about how to make the schools more comfortable for the children, and it's about unintended consequences, and they contact a graphic designer who started to form a logo, and soon different illustrators and artists helped him with these decorations on the wall called friezes. And yeah, it's all over New York schools. I think about 60 schools.
Anything else? Basans, can you add something?
No, it's good.
No. Okay, so it's about some schools. They wanted to make their library better, more attractive for students, and embellish it in some way. And they asked a volunteer team of volunteers to help them. And that's all. That's all. They found a solution. They found a solution how to make the interior better. That children liked it, but actually it's not clear. Were children going to visit libraries more after that or not? I don't know. So let's talk about public libraries in general. Do you have them in your neighborhood? Do you visit them on regular basis? Gerard, please.
When I was a child, a teenager, I used to go to libraries a lot, and I used to borrow some books as well. And the main characteristic of a library is that you must be quiet. So there was an old woman, a middle-aged woman, who always was hushing people, saying, "Shh, shh, shh. Be quiet." And
yes.
in this speak, I think that the speaker told us that he wants a library where people loudly.
So they want to rethink this place, library, and make it more comfortable for children, more desirable, something like that. Well, in Russia, we still have public libraries. We have a lot of them. Not for adults, not for adults, but for children. It's a very popular place. When I was a children, I always visited them because it's not only for books. They provide some parties. I don't know. They provide some events and so on. So we have at least one library in every neighborhood, and my boys go there and they like it, and they have, I don't know, some parties. I can explain more because it's my wife's job to deliver them to these parties. Diana, do you still have these libraries?
Yeah, yes, we do. So, and I don't use the adult library. Like, we have a big library here. So when I was a student, I was I was there all the time. It was like before internet, as teacher Lee mentioned here. So that's why I had to go to the reading rooms over there and sit there for hours and, just try to find some information in the books. So, but now we visit the children's library regularly with my daughter, so she enjoys to go there. So it's like the regular thing. So in our library we have like the kind of a little zoo, couple of little pets over there for kids to watch and pet and feed, and they enjoy it. And there is also like the kind of a small conference room for events. Probably that's what you are talking about. Sometimes there are meetings with some children's writers and something like this going on there. So it's a nice place for kids. So I like it.
Yes. And I have a special reason why we borrow books in this library. Because when we own some books, I and my boys, we are lazy. We don't read it too fast. But if we know that book hours only for 1 week, we read it every evening. So it's a deadline for us. It motivates us to read it, and that's why we use it. And my boy likes very much to choose a book by himself. He is an adult one. He goes to libraries, speak with a woman who is librarian, and have a adult conversation, what to choose.
Yes.
He likes everything. And after he feels obliged to read that. And because she always asking him what it was about. So I found that it's a
the
good
follow-up activity is also there. Okay.
Yes. So I like that because of the educational system in it. Vasants, what about India? About public libraries, children, adults?
Yes, we have one. It's just located just a walk-away distance. So in every villages they have such a library. It was a good initiative by the government because they insisted to place such a libraries in every village so that the school children can learn many things. So it's mostly contains such a books for school children, up to school children, and some adult books too. Yeah.
Do you visit it regularly?
Yeah, actually I did during my school days, but after that, after I went into graduation and due to my work timings, I could not go there.
Jörgen, how is it in Sweden?
Yeah, we have a lot of libraries, I think. I live close to one, and
I never visited.
Yeah, never visited, exactly. Before, in school, I visited it, but not any longer. I pass it every day.
So you can call yourself a librarian almost. I pass the library every day.
Yeah.
Teach us about America, how it's in your place.
I don't see many libraries in America. They're relatively rare. I do see some sometimes, but they're not as common, it sounds like, as in your countries. I think because of the internet, probably what ones we had may have closed down due to lack of support. I don't know, but we have some, but I've only been in like 1 or 2 libraries my entire life, and I haven't been in a library in 30, 40 years. So it's not a place I go to normally.
They do not serve beer over there, so that's probably the reason.
Now, like you say, they're quiet. It's hard
No
to find
beer.
books. Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about that. Does internet change something for these libraries? For adults libraries, for scientists libraries, it's obviously yes. No one will go to read a book if you can get it by internet. But for children, does internet change something? I think that it isn't. it did not. Because children don't read from, my children at least, don't read it from computer, so they still like the library with events, with the real people, with some authors, some, I don't know, entertainment, something like this.
Yeah, we have a lot of TV programs for kids' education. Sesame Street, if you've ever heard of Sesame Street. So I think once we had TV and technology, a lot of our kids got their education from watching TV, good or bad. And libraries kind of went down in popularity. Today, my son's 31, and he says most of his friends, which are young adults basically, he said nobody reads. He and I read paperback novels sometimes, and they say, "You read paperback novels?" Like reading's a novel idea. Like he said, none of them read at all.
Yes.
It's a new generation.
Yeah. So what about reading? Do we stop reading? Diana, do you stop reading? Or still
No,
read
I don't
something?
stop. No, I don't stop reading, and but I know that it is a problem. As Teacher Lee said, that TV, all these kind of easy gratification, right? thing, easy access to something which is not, well, okay, basically reading takes some effort, right? You're still doing something, and sometimes it is not what our children want to do. So it is much easier just to click on some, using your computer program or something, and like games, and be entertained. So book is not that easy to entertain you. You need to make some effort, right? So just to do something. So sometimes it is hard, to, I don't know how to say that, but so kids are not that interested in books as long, as I see it now. So they are not as interested because they have all those very bright, beautiful films, cartoons, whatever it is. So when I was a child, I didn't have that many. So we still had this TV program, and we was waiting for a nice film, for a week, because on the weekend we were able just to watch that movie or something like that, or we had to go to the cinema, right? So now they can do it with one click of a mouse. So
what's the reading is blessing then? Maybe it's a curse, you just don't have.
Yeah, it
didn't have an
was. It was
opportunity.
like kind of an escape, from the reality. So we were hiding behind our books, just I was looking forward to the time when I could come back home and get myself comfortable, just cover myself, with a blanket and get my favorite book and read a couple of pages. That was my favorite time. It was so cozy and nice. So yeah, for me it was, like that.
Mm-hmm. But Sans, do you read still some paper books?
Yes, I prefer such paper books rather than Kindle version, because a few times, sometimes ago, a person told me, asked me about, just a minute. Okay, he asked me about which one do you prefer? Because if you have a girlfriend, do you want to have a Skype call with her, or just sitting next to her and putting your hand around her shoulder and talk with her? Which one do you prefer? So of course, the second one.
Of course, Skype girlfriend. Yes. Why? Why touching? Why?
Yes. So I prefer the second one.
Really? Wow, that's a surprise.
Well, as a married guy, I prefer Skype, girlfriends.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's changing over time, Vasant.
Jürgen, what about you? Do you read paper books? Do you enjoy it?
No, not. I have never liked that. In the school, I read just a chapter or two, and then I looked at the summarize back. It doesn't work. It didn't work. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Gerard, what about you?
I use
I'm
my
pretty sure.
Kindle.
Kindle? Okay.
Yeah, because I don't borrow books on the library anymore. It's more convenient to read in my Kindle, especially in English or another foreign language. And I don't like having shelves full of books, and I don't have a lot of space, so I think it's a waste of time. And for me, some people launch the paper, but for me, what's important is the content of the book rather than the container.
Well, as for me, I can say I stopped reading. I don't know why. I was a bookworm in my youth, 5 years ago, maybe. But somehow I stopped. I don't have a time for that anymore. Maybe it's just an excuse, I think, because the time is the simplest excuse for anything. But now I read fairy tales and only things with my boys, nothing for adults. Teacher Lee, please.
Sometimes you read comments about movies on the internet, and there was one comment where some people now theorize that in the future we're all going to be illiterate. No one can read. And they base that on Star Wars movies. If you watch the Star Wars movies, there's never any signs, no labels, control panels have no writing on them. No one ever pulls up an instruction manual for a procedure. Everything's computer do this and computer do that. And they theorize that based on Star Wars, in the future, no one will be able to read.
Gerard?
When we talk about reading, we talk about reading books, but actually we read a lot of things on the internet, and some of them are very interesting. For instance, you can read an article in the Wikipedia, or many more articles or news or everything. That's also reading. I think that this sort of reading is underrated. That's not reading, but actually it's reading. It's not only watching videos. Some people only like watching videos on YouTube.
Leila, hello.
Hello, Leila.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We missed you. And we are speaking about reading and libraries and all such things. So, teachers, how are the public libraries in Turkey? Do you have them still? Do children go to this library? Do adults go?
Okay, I would like to say I haven't watched the video first.
Forget
As
about
a student. Teacher Lee, oh come on, give me a smile. So the second thing is that I have just seen your message and I wanted to join because I miss everybody. And as for your question, we have 2 big libraries here. I mean big because they have a lot of books, and children usually use laptops, computers, and as a teacher, I just want to persuade them to use different things. For example, I want them to look up their dictionaries, and that's why I just carry a lot of dictionaries while we're studying reading passages. The libraries are great, and I must, listen to you what you're talking about, and then I will let you know what will happen or what's happening in my country.
Okay. Well, don't worry too much about the video. Video is short and it's nothing common with our discussion at all. So we're just speaking about reading, about libraries, about all these things, how it's going in our countries. And I just thinking about. I just thought about what Teacher Lee said, that they have TVs and some educational programs for children and so on. We have the same, but I never watched that it is popular. During my life, I never watched a boy or girl who sit over TV and watch some educational movie or cartoon or show. They just switch to another one, not educational but entertainment. I forgot how to say it. Entertain.
I'm
Entertaining.
Entertaining. Okay. I forgot the rest of the word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And what I think about that, the library is a good place where you can be persuaded one goal, not to not to be distracted, You hear it's quiet and you can read. And another thing that in Russia we have these public libraries accessible by food for children. So it's a small project for them to go there. I don't need to accompany them when they getting older. So you don't need to drive somewhere or something like that. So it's a good place to spend time, I think. Maybe it is a difference because we live compact and we have these things around. Too much. So where do we go? I don't know. We don't have questions. Nothing. What can you share about reading? What do you think? Should we force our children or youngs to read, or we can stop it already?
So I think that if you force young children, so that's the best solution to, okay, if you want them not to read, you should force them to read, that's the best solution for that, but not in such a way you're not going to make them love reading. So what I actually think what is the better solution is, okay, but not that. So the speaker on that video told about this law of unintended consequences, right? But what I think the best solution with this reading problem with the kids is my law, the law of the pickle, So, and this law goes like that. So if you put a cucumber, for example, in the salted water, it will become a pickle, so with time. So if the child is put in the environment with some books in it, and when he sees his parents who are reading books and who are interested in books, well, there are good chances that the child will read in future. So I like this law. So I'm trying to show the example, and I'm reading to my daughter. It's like our tradition, like late at night before bed, we usually read a couple of pages of her favorite books, of her choice. So that's why I think that she prefers me to read, though, I must admit. But, we have a lot of books. I love buying children books because of the illustrations, because of this. So, and, I spent some money on books, and we have a couple of very nice editions. So that's why I think it is also give you this excitement to hold the book, to, just to turn the pages, to smell this nice smell of a book. I love this smell. So that's my story.
Layla, please.
As a child, you can guess what kind of child I was. I didn't like reading. My parents forced me, so I pretended as if I had been reading something. But when my father noticed that, he started, it's the keyword, rewarding me if I finish something and give a summary of what I have read. This encouraged me a lot. So what I'm thinking is to encourage the word for me, because as a just as a nation, Turkish people don't like reading a lot, and according to the statistics, only 60% are just good readers. The others don't read, they just search the internet and the other things. So when we give rewards, then they start reading. I've noticed. Yes.
I see. But we started to discuss the ways how to encourage children to read without the discussing is reading still a good thing. Maybe just waste our time.
Reward is the keyword, Ivan. Sometimes I just take some different things to the classroom, and I said, okay, who is going to read and give me the summary? And I give some limited time, And at the end of this limited time, I've noticed that there's a kind of competition between them. And they are keen on reading. This is my way, but I think it is successful. For example, if I ask Ivan, finish this book, I will buy you a computer. He will finish it.
It used to work. It used to work with me when I was a child, but not as successful as successful now. Gerard, sorry, I missed your message in the chat. Please.
I think it's difficult to get children to read as much as we did in the past because they have so many devices thanks to new technologies like, you know, internet, Facebook, videos, video games, many things. So, but although we should give them a space for reading. We should keep a space for reading yet. And the problem, I think, books are not as interactive as they could be. We should use the new technologies to make them more amenable, more entertaining, so that could encourage them to read because children are attracted by new technology. So I think books for children could be better, more interesting, more attractive.
Yeah.
But should the books remain, you know, like, yeah, they have a lot of distractions, as you say. Yeah, they have a lot of entertaining thing, but you know, children books are usually very colorful. They have wonderful illustrations. Most of the books, you know, at least you can choose now. You have the choice, right? So you have nice books with wonderful illustrations, beautiful editions. Why should we make them even more? I don't know how to make it even more colorful. So should the books be the books? Interactive, okay, but they have interactive things on their, you know, computers, phones, everything. So like they have movies, cartoons, they have programs, educational programs, all those different things. So maybe we should leave those books alone, you know, just let them be as books, you know.
Well, it's very interesting point. I think the same, you know, I think the same. I think if we will go to competitive with TV, by such books, by interactive or something, it will be just a bad TV. You know, it's something different. But I'm not sure that we should have. What's special about books? I think that those ideas are special. That part that you can. It's like that you can to build part of the book in your mind by yourself. You don't have a picture.
And we lost Ivan.
Oh.
Ivan, come back.
You are frozen.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And you are muted. Teacher Lee, you're talking, but we cannot hear you.
My dogs keep barking in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know, children's books start out being all pictures. And then slowly you'll have some words. So we kind of entice children to learn to read by giving them pictures first and then adding some words, and then they'll learn to read the words. And we kind of slowly introduce them to reading words. And eventually when you're an adult, the pictures go away and you've only got words and it's not so interesting anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
When I was small, we had comic books. Marvel comic books, you know, Marvel and DC comics.
Yes, superheroes.
Well, I grew up on those. They were like 12 cents a piece, 12 pennies a piece. And then at some point, the price doubled to a quarter a piece, and I couldn't afford them anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to stop.
So library would be a good idea for that, you know. You could just borrow them and, you know.
Libraries didn't have comic books.
Yeah.
In my place, they had comic books.
Did they? Okay.
I think it's you know, comic books are also underrated. Like reading comic books is not like reading, at least in the past. Adults thought that, that reading comic books was a waste of time, but I think it's better reading comic books than not reading anything.
They're written at the adult level, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, another point why we should, insist on children's reading. So as far as I know now, like the new, one of the most important skills in the future, like for when the kids will be adults, right? Like in future, in 40, 50 years, will be communication. So communication skills are very, very important. Actually, by reading, we are training this ability to, get our message across, to express our points of view. We need this vocabulary. How can we supposed to build this vocabulary? Only watching something, it's not the same. While watching the movies and all this, it's like the passive kind of, it's not the same as the reading words and see them put in the sentence. So actually the different parts of brain are working while reading and watching something and listening to that. So, so reading kind of help of build up this ability to make up sentences and to deliver messages, what is needed for communication.
And something that you have to, that kids probably need to understand is why do I need to learn all these big words? The problem is the world is in a competition for jobs. And when they grow up, they're going to be competing with thousands and thousands of adults. And all of these people have to use this advanced vocabulary to survive in the world. So if they don't learn to read and use this advanced vocabulary, they're going to be behind the rest of the world, and they'll feel the pain later.
Yeah.
Hello, Ivan.
Yes, George, please.
People, children, or young people who are not used to read, the way they speak is lousy way. They use a lowest way of speaking. I think reading books, usually when we read a book, they are written very well in the correct way, and that's good for us because we get accustomed to see this nice language, so we can use in our daily practice every day.
Sure.
Well, it's a valuable comment because the language of TV show is different than the language of the book. And if you're watching only TV shows, you cannot speak just it's written in the books. But in the same way, if we have one example on Russian TV. I don't know if Diana watched it. One TV show tried to pretend to be elite. And they speak like we wrote in the book, high style, and it's ridiculous. I can't watch it. My eyes start to bleed.
Yeah.
So it's two different genres. It's hard to combine them in one place. So maybe because of that we still need books. What about English language? Is it the same teacherly? Is it different language for books, for TV?
Oh, absolutely. If you read newspapers, magazines, the internet, writers tend to use a pretty high level of education as far as words. It's very rare that I meet an English word I don't know, but once in a while, a writer will use a Latin expression or an English word, and I'll go, "Whoa, he's using something new," and I'll be impressed because everyday conversation you don't use any of that. But you do see formal writing. You'll see Latin expressions. I can probably find you some on the internet. Persona non grata, non sequitur. You don't see these in everyday writing. But when you're reading, you have to know these words sometimes to get the full meaning or to understand what the guy's trying to say. Trojan horse. We had an example recently about Trojan horse. Yeah. If you don't know a little bit of history, when someone says it's a Trojan horse, you're going to go, what the heck is he talking about? So a minimum level of education is necessary to, I think, function capably in society without embarrassing yourself. You know,
Mhm.
Winston Churchill, who's he? You know, everyone goes, you know, immediately their impression of your education goes way down because a big hole in your knowledge. So you have to, if you want to compete in the world and be respected, you've got to do some minimum amount of reading and have some minimum knowledge to not embarrass yourself, you know.
Right.
That's important.
Nice, and I think it's international. Do you agree? So these genres are different in any language.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Plus,
Layla.
we also have like different authors as well, you know, like with their own different styles and different languages. So actually, it is interesting to compare their writings as well. You know, when you read a new book, you kind of get acquainted with the person who is writing it, because you know sometimes like two different authors writing about pretty much the same things, it can be, one book can be your like favorite and the other can be, you know, not favorite at all, because you know two different persons, they write you know, using their own ways, stylistic devices and everything. So you know, that's why you have your favorite authors, your favorite genres in the literature. So it's kind of cool. And as Teacher Lee said, sometimes you just start reading and you find yourself trying to learn new things because you found it in your favorite book and you didn't know that. And that's why it's the new journey starts with that. And it is exciting.
Gerard?
Some people like writing a lot, but they don't like reading, and that makes it difficult. If you want to write properly, you need to read a lot. So to see the structures, vocabulary, and everything. It's difficult to be a good writer without loving reading.
Gerard, don't blame me. I post way too less now that I used to be. Layla, please.
Oh, Gerard, I was a kind of student who didn't like reading but loved writing a lot, and I used to write in such a sentimental way that everybody adored my writing.
I can believe it, actually.
Okay, but the books itself, they very different, as Diana said. It's each chapter is very unique, and their writing style. And you know, you can't pretend that you will learn something just by reading. You have to read right things, right? You can read some, I don't know, love novels one by one, but what will you learn? Some special language? I don't think so.
Well, why? Sometimes, you know, even in the love story, you can learn something from it. You can learn how to love, you know.
How to speak properly in these cases, right?
Yes. Different situations can be described, which you can find curious, you know. Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't read too much of that literature. That's why I face the question. You know, maybe you will convince me that I have to learn more about love novels. How we call it? It's offensive word, right? Chick literature.
Offensive word, yeah.
I mean, some terms. There is some term. I watched it somewhere and posted on the loop, and then get abstracted because of that. But it was chick flicks or something.
Yeah.
And Teacher Lee, you muted. Sorry.
Yeah, chick flicks is movies and young romance novels for young girls.
So should I read them as well as the rest of the reading? To
Not for vocabulary, no.
Not for vocabulary. Okay. Layla, please.
I was going to say that it depends on the aim. I mean, you can read for fun, you can read for just reading out loud in order to, you know, just improve your pronunciation. You can do the reading to learn new words. So what I'm thinking is that when I want to learn new words, I usually read, as Teacher Lee mentioned about it, advanced vocabulary reading passages. Once I just wanted to read a passage from, you're going to laugh at me, Guardian, the newspaper. I had 3 dictionaries beside me. It worked.
Yeah.
Yes, this newspapers use a special style. I know. When
I
teacher Lee
see.
provides his
love it.
examples in our chat, it's hard to understand about what it's about.
Mhm.
These newspaper titles, they make it like an art, right? They're trying to make it harder.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what they do. They need to, you know, to make it vivid, you know. Yeah. And plus, yes, it is very like I forgot the word. Concise.
Yeah.
Concise. That's exactly okay. So they have to make it short, and they use that special vocabulary. And plus, the journalists, they are the worst. You know, they are digging for these words, the special words, and they're trying to use it. And actually, sometimes those words are becoming fashionable, and you can see them everywhere, like this Kalfifi kind of thing, you know, like we were talking about. Yeah, but they are trying to do that, and they are inventing some new words and some new terms. It's an absolutely different style of writing. So we were talking about the reading for fun and reading in your own language, because Leila described reading for like professional kind of goals, right? When you read, when you want to like increase your vocabulary or something like that, it's a bit different thing. So of course, then you
hold
use
it for a second about professional reading. Let's ask Gerard. Please.
No, I was thinking about
sorry.
newspapers, because the titles of the news in Spain, you could guess the newspaper because all of them are subjective. All of them are biased.
Same as here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Left wing, right wing, center. You know, they have some opinion. There is some opinion behind the newspaper. The people who agree with those opinions, so they can buy those newspapers. So
Yes, I can bet that I can guess the newspaper by 3 titles. It's
Right.
it's the game.
Ivan, you said Leila?
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was going to say, the title of the newspapers are really different. Teacher Lee, they taught us this. The PM goes to London. For example, this is the title. The title they used were 1, but it means that the PM went to London. No, they are talking about something in the past. I mean, so interesting. And for future, they use the PM to go to London. I said, what is this? What kind of grammar is this? And they said, this is the title.
To go is future tense.
Yeah, to go, they said. I was, just I'm learning, still learning. I love it.
And let's speak about professional literature now, what Diana started. So in IT, all the professional literature are bleak, they use maybe 15 words at all. So when I started read the professional literature in English before I understand any English, before I can speak anything in English. Because it's, just do that, then that, and you will get this. I just used all these words from these books. It's usually very rare. How we call it? Poor. Very poor in the vocabulary. So I think it's impossible to get any good language from professional literature. You can get some knowledge, maybe some terms, but not the language. And I never seen a complicated sentence in this literature, because it should be understandable by everyone in the world. No one will try to make it embellish this sentence. I think. So I don't think that professional literature can teach us anything else exclude the subject.
Well, there are different professions. There are no just IT guys anywhere in the world, there is different literature. And I don't mean like professional literature in this, like limited type of thing, just to learn the jargon and that's it. I mean that in order to become a better professional, you can read different literature on the topic. You know, you can read about, like, in your IT guy, you can read about the programmers, like the famous people, something like that, which can enrich your experience as well in some other way. I don't mean like you are reading just, okay, push this button and write this, you know, code here, something like that, because yeah, it is pretty limited. So I think that our profession, Layla's, teachers Lee's, and mine, is wonderful. We can read anything and tell that we are enriching our professionalism and so on and so forth. So yeah. So actually reading is one of the things that we should do.
Okay, how many new words you get from these contracts? You know, some laws and something like that. You said that you once translated some, you know, this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like contracts. Is it you know, is it using a good language?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them you are using an interesting language, right? So some translations give that satisfaction. Not all of them, you know. If it is like computer type of translation, it is like more like coding type of thing, you know, or vice versa. You know, you're just trying to understand what the computer wanted to say. You know, just it's a different type of job, but some legal documents, they have those like forms, yeah, like special formulas, special things that, you know, actually interesting to know. At least some things are curious to learn. Yeah, why not?
But it's hard to use in everyday conversation, right?
You cannot use it in everyday conversation, but you are using it in other contracts, right? So, but actually, I had an experience of translating during court hearings, and over there, this language is appropriate. So it is used in this context. So it depends. It's not my favorite thing to do, but, you know, sometimes you just have to use it.
I see. Whew. So what else? what we forgot about reading? So professional, children literature. So it's pretty obvious why we need professional literature and children literature and so on. Pretty obvious. So what about these adults, you know, who don't need that for their occupation? Just, I don't know who just the workers.
Yeah.
Should they read? Is it will be useful for their life? Is it something like this?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that reading is useful in general, you know. Yeah.
Any technical field is going to have procedures and policies that you have to read and understand, especially legal contracts and things like that. So if you have to follow written procedures, you absolutely have to be able to read. If you're doing legal stuff, lawyers, contracts, those kind of things, purchasing, you have to be able to read. So some job functions will require you to be very good at reading. Other ones, like being a machine operator, you may not need to read at all if you can learn from hands-on memory and not have to follow a technical detailed procedure.
Mm-hmm. When I was a worker on the plant, I had an impression that all my colleagues never read anything, maybe newspapers from time to time, because it was hard to find a common language to them. Every time when you quote something, they look on you like, what is that?
Yeah.
Lena, please.
So also, Ivan, it makes them, you know, improve themselves. It widens their horizon and it changes their attitudes. For example, a worker should address to the people in a kind way. This is what I'm thinking. And reading makes them, you know, just use some nice words. For example, in my country, there are some workers who use really kind, gentle words while they are just talking to the people, because they read daily newspapers, they read books. So you can understand them, they are good readers. Thank you.
By idioms, right? By some usage, by some expressions, you can guess that this guy is a reader.
Yeah.
Vasant, please.
Yes, some profession needs reading to update their something from their field. Like if you are a news reporter, you have to read whatever happens in the current affairs, so that you can handle if you are a live interview with some political person. So you have to ask something about the current affairs. So like doctors too, they say we need 24 hours time. That means they have to refer something back to some previous patients' cases, current patient. So it needs a lot of reading to update themselves. Yeah.
Gerard?
And for me, from my point of view, reading, I like to read a lot different things, different stuff, and it helped me to have a wider mindset, to understand people from different cultures, opinions, and that's very helpful, because most people who don't like to read, they only believe what's around them, so their mindset is limited.
Yeah.
We have a lot of shows. Why to read? The TV will say you everything what you know, what you have to know. Okay, can you be too much reading person? Can you read too much that it will hurt you? Because I know examples of that, but I want to ask you first.
Yeah, of course.
So you think it's possible? What is the risk of reading too much?
That's when you don't do activities that you should do in order to only read. I think some sport activity is necessary. Taking care of our diets, but not only reading. I did that in the past all day long reading, but I think it's not good doing that always.
Okay. So it's don't forget about physical activities. Eat sometimes. When to work, go to the work, do something.
Some relationship with the others.
Yeah, but I actually didn't mean that you read 24 hours in one day. I mean that is it possible to read so much that you became a burden for your colleagues, family, friends, or something like that? Because I have a friend who always recite me the whole book, on any my question, and it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of strange.
I had a friend who used to retell me the movies, like episode by episode, and they wanted to kill him, just it was unbearable.
Leila, we did it just once. Don't blame us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I mean Diana.
Yeah. Yeah, but you should know that it is unbearable. Okay. Right before our next movie class.
Leila, please.
I usually read 2 or 3 hours before I sleep. But of course, I have some break to eat some chocolate or drink something. But what I'm doing is that one day I use creamy, just quality books. The other night, in order to make myself happy, I read Julie, Don't Laugh at Me, soap operas, kind of romance books. So I balance my feelings. But what I've noticed that in this century, you have to know a lot of things, especially about your country, in order to defend your country. So I'm reading now a lot of, just quality books. I'm reading a lot nowadays.
Vasant, please.
Yes, especially, I don't know how many of you follow this habit, but I like to read books. Some stories during having my meals, so during eating. So it excites me. Yes, since from my childhood, it started as and it developed, and still I love to read stories during eating. Yes.
Actually, it's very dangerous, because in such a way you will eat much more. You just keep eating and reading and eating and reading. So portion control should be there in reading and eating as well.
When I was a student and live in and used to live in the dormitory, there are a lot of jokes about that, because students like to read when they eat, and it was many practical jokes of that when you change the cup of tea to cup of water or something, and people usually don't not so attentive to realize that. So I was thinking that risk of eating when you read is high.
Yes,
you can eat at a table occasionally or something. So anything else? Last comments? What we forgot about the reading, about the libraries? Nothing. How big are these libraries? In your place? In my place, it's a small room. Usually, it's small room. We have a lot of them. Because of that, it's not a huge one. And it was interesting when Leila said that it's a huge one. In my place, it's one, maybe two rooms, with one for books, another for reading room. That's all.
It depends on how many people usually go there. It can be huge, it can be small, but what important thing, what counts is how many people go there.
I see. And what about the last thing? What about these photos? Do you like the solution? Do you like this design from the video?
I'm lazy. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I liked those designs. So I like the different designs. Yes, I liked some murals that appeared by some, made by some activists, and yeah, it was cute. I can see why it is inviting for kids. Some of the designs are very interesting.
I found that children like faces, especially famous or familiar faces. I used to print a lot of photos and put it on the walls, and they always look on them, speak about it, and it somehow lures them to give that. So I can believe that this approach will work in the library, especially if it's my picture on the wall. I will go there more often.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so we can use that. It's a good approach. Thank you very much for this class. It was fun as always. We get it from nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, see you on the. Well, we will have a movie class tomorrow. Please join us too. We will speak about Terminator.
Believe me, I don't have time to watch the movie. I will
watched it already.
I will join and listen to you. You will tell me.
Last time I didn't watch the movie, but I joined, and the guys explained everything to me. So they didn't actually tempt me to watch it, because now I know. So they spoiled everything.
The Terminator.
Over there.
I watched
the Terminator, right?
Yes.
The Terminator.
I watched it. Of course, my type of film.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. So tomorrow 4 p.m.
We'll be back.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Yes.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Take care. Bye.